Again, Rochelle, thank you for joining me. The first thing we're going to cover today is the integration of YuJa with Canvas, because this is sometimes the most convenient way to record a video and directly embed it right into your course.
Okay.
So with that, I'm going to largely share my screen. And there is a course in Canvas called YuJa Video 101. And as you know, for any of these content blocks, we can click edit. And within that, we see the rich text editor or the rich content editor, whatever term makes the most sense to you. But within that horizontal bar, we see the YuJa icon.
Okay.
And so we click on that, and right away, we see the YuJa Media secondary window. And within that window, we can choose media we've already recorded. We can upload media that might be on our desktop or in our Google Drive, or we can record content. And in this case, we're just going to hit record. And then we see that you're going to be presented two options: record from your Windows PC or Mac, or record from or with the Browser Capture Studio. The big difference is record from your Windows PC or Mac allows you to pause. So you've got a 10-minute video. At the 5-minute mark, somebody knocks on your door. You feel the need to go answer it. And so you pause. Makes perfect sense. Unfortunately, the Browser Capture Studio can't do that.
Okay.
And so you're kind of forced. You either let it roll or you stop it, and then you're going to have to create a second video.
Okay.
Because of that feature, I always recommend people go with record from your Windows PC or Mac. And then once you've selected that, you're going to go down to launch recording.
Okay.
And if you do not see a tertiary window, let me know.
Okay.
And I'm seeing it now, but I'm guessing you are not. Okay. And it's at this point that I switch up to the PDF document so that you and I can speak intelligently about what we're seeing.
Okay.
And so what you would have seen is you would have seen this third interface over the top of the Canvas interface and the intervening interface. And right away, there's a few things to pay attention to. One is you have to title every video or it's given a generic title.
Okay.
One generic title is never an issue. What we all know is once you have 10 or 20, they're just meaningless. And it creates more work, which means more time that you don't have. The other thing is you're going to decide on your inputs for your video in that left column. It begins with video inputs, audio inputs, screen inputs. You have the option for a live broadcast, such as YouTube stream. So you can create a streaming recording and share that with whomever. The last thing is your profile. It knows who you are, it identifies you, but it also allows you to change who the profile is. It's a very odd feature. I can't think of an instance where you'd want to change your profile because you know this is a librarian. In the metadata, they know who you are. They're not giving that up.
Yeah.
So, so you have at least two choices with respect to your video inputs. And those are represented by these drop-down menu items. Most often, it's going to be your webcam. But in the event you have an external camera that you've connected to your laptop or desktop, you could have two going at the same time.
Okay.
And then it's a matter of just turning them on or off after the selection. In a very similar sense, you have two inputs for audio. Your webcam, hopefully you have the Microsoft webcam. If you don't, I can get you one through IT, but that has reasonably good audio. And so you'd select your mic source. In rare instances, you might use a second mic. Again, in most cases, I can't think of a reason why. It would just create competing audio signals. But in the event you had a reason, Yes, it will allow you to do that.
I do everything from my laptop. Is that quality going to be okay doing that with that camera and that mic?
If you like, because I'm doing this tomorrow at 8:30 a.m., I'm going to a faculty member's office to talk about lighting, audio, their options in terms of recording. And so we all want the best possible inputs. And so I'm happy to meet with you. Something's better than nothing. But at the same time, this is what I tell people. I absolutely can't stand the work rework cycle. You have a wonderfully prepared presentation. You deliver it very, very well, and the audio's off. Yep. Swing and a miss. But so there's things I can sit down, whether it's 5 minutes or 50, and go through different techniques you might consider and use. I can lend you a really good mic. I can hopefully lend you some lighting that would give you some backlighting, some side lighting. And then it's like all of us, we're just progressing. We didn't grow up with iPhones, at least I didn't. And so,
Yeah, I didn't.
and so we're just learning on the fly, but it always helps to have someone to bounce ideas off. You know, is this working for you? Is it not? In the event you just love recording through Zoom, there are some new tools out there for a very modest subscription that I might convince Anna to purchase that would vastly improve the audio between you and I in a discussion like this. And it would vastly improve the video because the recording is being recorded on your side and my recording is recorded on my side, and then it's brought together. That's a very clever way to address bandwidth.
Okay.
And bandwidth is often the culprit.
Okay.
So,
All
but
right.
those are some good options. In addition to the video input, you can record your desktop, your screen.
Okay.
So in the event you have a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet and you want to demonstrate a set of calculations, you could do that. And all the while, either have a picture-in-picture where your image is small, or they're co-equal, where you're talking and then demonstrating. And that can include annotations where on your screen for your desktop, you can draw, you can highlight things such as this. And so both of their choices are right there as on and off. As we talked about, you can live stream, which really opens up a very unique set of opportunities, but it also, you know, there's hazard. So, and then as I mentioned, they know who you are in terms of your current profile, and then you could create a new profile. Again, I don't often see the reason that would be put into use, but maybe there is one. Probably the most important feature is down in the lower right corner with the start button. Once you click the start button, good things start to happen. But it's important to understand the sequence. And the sequence begins with the network authenticating who you are. And that's done automatically, but you're going to see this software capturing live streaming. It uses live streaming in a very broad context, whether you're doing it or not.
Okay.
It'll be done with that, and you'll get a 3 count.
Okay.
So it'll be capture starts in 3, 2, 1. If you've ever used Camtasia, it's almost identical. And the word on the street is that YuJa has licensed Camtasia technology for this.
Okay.
As did Panopto. I mean, if you can license it, why not? Once you're done with the 3 count, you're going to see this small toolbar in the lower right corner of that interface. That toolbar is hugely important because it controls pause and stop.
Okay.
And we've talked about it, and you already know the double parallel lines running vertically are pause.
Yeah.
The solid square, stop. Once you stopped, there's no going back because you're going to have to create a second video.
Okay.
Once the video progresses another millisecond and you're into the recording and then you stop it, you're going to see the upload status for the recording. And the woman in front of you is Dr. Renee Hobbs out of the University of Rhode Island. I did a great interview with her for the Media Education Lab. Really happy about it. It lasted maybe 20 minutes. So it was 3.61 millibytes,
Oh, okay, yeah.
megabytes.
Uh-huh.
And so it's going to prompt you until it's done uploading. But then it gives you a final chance to bail out. And so your bailout is delete. I really
Okay.
didn't like it. I'm going to redo it. So I delete. It never shows up in YuJa or your media library.
Okay.
In the event you like what you've done and you save it, there it is. That video of the interview with Dr. Renee Hobbs is 23 minutes and 15 seconds, and it is in your personal media library. And it is at that point you can do all of the other things that YuJa allows you to do. If you like, I will send this to you because it was not part of the packets. And it is just absolutely impossible for me to overcome the Zoom limitations. You never would have seen much of anything. But
No,
with
that's
that,
fine.
I'm going to stop the share of this,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to jump back to what would be considered the point at which that video is embedded into your rich content editor. And then all you have to do to save it into your course is click save at the bottom of the screen.
Okay.
And so in that sense, it's just remarkably efficient.
Sounds easy enough.
Yeah, I think it just has a set of strengths that are very useful. Now, another way to approach this, okay, hopefully you're seeing, and have you ever used this interface?
I don't think so.
So it's just at heartland.yuja.com.
Okay.
It's another avenue for a single sign-on, but it also includes a set of videos that in some ways are meant for internal consumption versus public consumption. I think different entities are just trying to figure out how to make this work. And you already have a YouTube channel, so maybe this is something that you're interested in also pursuing, but if not, I totally understand.
Okay.
In terms of the single sign-on, it's just in the top right corner. Generally speaking, if you're logged in to your laptop and you have a browser open and the browser has synced with that laptop, it knows who you are. And so you click login and you arrive at your media library. Now, in this case, you're seeing mine. I have a lot of folders. In the event you don't name your videos, that's what you get. My event on Thursday, September 8th, 2020. And by the way, I did another video and it reads my event.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a little funny, but at the same time, you can imagine once you have 20 of them, you've done yourself a disservice. So the folder and file structure becomes fairly important. In one of the first tutorials I did, I recommended people talk to me or talk with a librarian about naming conventions because those will save all of us. And so I'm going to an individual video within one of my folders. And this video is called YuJa 101 Tutorial, Getting Started and Recording.
Okay.
And so if I mouse over the thumbnail, on the far right, you see this dynamic menu. And the dynamic menu allows you to play, share, publish, delete, edit, and more.
Okay.
In terms of more, it gives you a really healthy set of options for retitling, adding a description, adding a document, creating unique thumbnails that you might want to use. It helps you with the direct link to the video. So you've placed the video within Canvas, and so you're happy with that, but you also want to share it through an email with a colleague. This would be the place where you'd find the direct link. Then you have downloads. I always encourage people to keep original copies of their work. And part of the reason is, ever since I was young, people have told me that they have a technology that is fail-proof, and it has failed.
Right.
And so it's very similar to Apple and the iPhone being hacked. It was inevitable. And I feel bad. I like Apple. But it was going to happen. You have comments. You can allow people to comment on your video. The hazard again is then you have to monitor it because of inappropriate comments. You have analytics. You have quizzes. So in the event you or any other librarian teaches a course and they want to quiz within the video, they can do that. And then if the student passes or completes the quiz, they continue on with the video.
Okay, nice.
In a future workshop, I can cover the details of that. There's also accessibility. I'm very familiar with this in terms of the auto caption, but also how we can further refine those captions and the transcripts. Transcripts are a reality for every video we do. In part, I review transcripts all the time because I want to know an exact quote for what someone said in a video.
Okay.
And so these can be uploaded, downloaded. I would explain what an SRT file is, which is used for the import-export, and that can be really effective in terms of your YouTube channel. Why refine those captions when you've already done it in YuJa? Just export the .srt file, import it into YouTube, and you're set.
Okay.
You don't have to do anything more. There are more options. I'll save those for a later day. But you also are going to see this dynamic menu in the item for edit. Unfortunately, there we go. And let me know if you're continuing to see the secondary interface. And so what you should see is a bright yellow banner that says YuJa Video 101.
Yep.
Outstanding. At the very top, the horizontal bar allows you to save or discard any edits at any time.
Okay.
If you discard, your session is done. In the largest pane of the interface is the production pane for the video that you're, bless you, for the video you're working on. And so in theory, in real time, you can see the changes as you're making them.
Okay.
And then you have your play bar to play a video, to control the volume, to basically pay attention to the timestamp. And again, this number over here, the 724, becomes very important in editing as we insert images or we overlay them. As we insert videos or we overlay them. And I only mention it because it's so peculiar that it's not WYSIWYG. And so most of the editors I use are WYSIWYG. And so I honestly had to email YuJa and have them explain to me that this was indeed the case. And it is. And in some ways, they're trying to do several things really, really well. And this is a very tricky part of editors. With that said, you can control the playback speed. So it can be at 2 times, 4 times. It can be slowed down, so on. You also have the list of actions. And so for every edit that you make, it would be listed sequentially.
Oh, okay.
The beauty of the list of actions is you're happy with the first 6 edits and you hate the 7th, but then you have the 8th and 9th. The list of actions allows you to delete an individual edit within that chronological list.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, to the right of that are closed captions. And so you can add captions, though they are automatically generated by YuJa. One thing that I encourage people to think about is those who rely on captions usually want to know who's talking. And so if it's simply as identifying yourself as Rochelle in capital letters and then putting a colon or a bracket, the person reading the captions, that clues them in as to who you are. And if you felt strongly that you were going to use your full name, that would work too. But it is a courtesy. And that's even more so when you have more than one speaker.
Right, right.
And then if you want to add a caption, you can. That's the purpose of the button. This also allows for a table of contents for your very long videos. And so in this case, I could have an introduction extending from 0 to, let's say, 2 minutes. And then at the 2-minute mark, I would insert topic number 1. And so that table of contents is clickable, made available to the viewer so they can skip through the video to get to the content they're most interested in.
Okay.
And then we have settings. We have the preview cut, the audio gain, the caption quality, and so on. At a future date, if you want a detailed explanation of these settings and others, I'm happy to provide them.
Okay.
But for time reasons, having done this morning, I'm pacing myself to make sure it doesn't run over. So these icons are very interesting to the extent when you first access this interface, the advanced mode toggle switch will be no. And so you will see 5 edit options.
Okay.
If you make it yes, you will see 8 edit options.
Okay, yeah.
There's no disadvantage to seeing all the options. The first option is cut. And it's a bit of a misnomer because what you're doing is you're hiding. You're hiding the content, but it stays on the timeline.
Oh, okay.
And so it cuts it.
Okay. Can you go back and add it if you decide you want it later?
You can. And
Okay.
so there's 2 ways to do it. And it's a great question. In part because you have the undo
Yeah.
and the redo right next to it. The other thing you have is if you place your mouse into the grayed out area,
Uh-huh.
it removes it because of that double or the single X.
Okay.
And so we've covered cut, undo, redo. And now we go to the icon for insert slide or image.
Okay.
And so that's very similar to how you insert a video. And so I'm going to jump to the next icon, which is add a video.
Okay.
And so I have a number of videos lined up, and so I can choose any of those. But I could also upload from your desktop, depending on what you wanted. In this case, and are you seeing that secondary window?
Mhm. Yeah.
Good, good. So I click on that, and so the base video, the video that you've been seeing is called video 1. In the event you had 2 or 3 videos lined up, they would be represented by the drop-down menu.
Okay.
In this case, we have 1 video, and you have 4 choices. Current time override, current time insert, at the beginning, or at the end. And so we talked earlier about how we have to pay attention to the time, because that's going to cue us in as to whether or not we've inserted the video, thereby extending the entire video, or we overlaid it and the time will not change.
Okay. Right.
And so I go to insert and I apply. And so the video went from 7 minutes to 36 minutes and 42 seconds. Hugely critical if you didn't want to insert it.
Right.
If you did, we've arrived at what we want. And then I think you'd agree that at the beginning and at the end is self-explanatory.
Mhm.
If you want the video to basically be inserted at the beginning or inserted at the end, it will do that. And the
Okay.
time will change. But the critical factor is time. And again, for those people who are looking at the timelines and the individual horizontal representations of the waveform in the primary video, there just isn't much change. And so there's no visual confirmation that much of anything has happened other than the time.
Okay.
You can insert watermarks or overlay them. You can insert blue or blackout regions. And so let's say you're giving a presentation and you're at the front of the class and there are students in the class and you're filming the back of their heads. No one's readily identifiable. Student gets up, faces the camera, there they are. And it's at a time where you're making a critical point.
Oh,
And
okay.
your option is to cut it out, but then you've got some other issues in terms of editing.
Mhm.
And a way to combat that is insert a blur. And so you can black out the entire video frame itself. You can decide on the duration of the blur, or it should have appeared here. Let me see if I can find it. Or let me do it again. The blur insertion conflicts with something. Not sure what. That's why it's not doing it.
Oh, okay. I think I get the concept though.
Okay. The overlay, very important in terms of our earlier conversation about identifying yourself, not only in the transcript, not only in the audio input, but also the text that can be read on the page. And so this is where the text overlay comes in handy. We're going to go with a font size of, let's say, 52. It's going to last 5 seconds. We apply it, and again, another conflict. Okay. You see where Tim is?
Mm-hmm.
You can drag it around.
Oh, nice.
And then, again, it's a very useful way for the visual learner or the learner who is unable to hear certain aspects of the lecture in seeing who you are. And then in the event you really disliked it, you would again have the option to delete or to remove it from the timeline. The last item is telestration, which is a word not many of us hear. I myself was surprised that they used this term, but good enough. Telestration is the use of your mouse or a tablet to handwrite over a video frame.
Oh, okay.
And so in this case, I just want to use the color red versus black. And I apply that color. I go back, I create new, and there I go with my mouse. And hopefully it's a little more meaningful. But the last thing you need to do is you need to save the overlay or it won't be recorded.
Oh, okay. I see that. Okay.
So it's at least a 2-step process, if not a 3. If you choose a color, it's 3. With that said, we've already talked about the advanced toggle of yes or no. You're familiar with zooming in or zooming out. You can use the slide rule to basically expand out your timelines. So you have a better idea of exact details.
Okay.
For editing, that can get very important. And then we've talked about how to remove and insert different types of editing effects onto those timelines, onto those tracks. Do you have any questions in terms of what we've covered?
No, it all
Okay.
seems fairly, straightforward.
We have some time, so I did want to just share with you the basic interfaces for the mobile app, which can be very useful, not only to instructors, but to students who are they're always interested in mobile apps. And so we ask our students to go out and to record something. And in this case, I'm going to go back to my downloads and pull up What about now?
Yeah, yep, I see it. Okay.
So it's going to ask you to identify and sign in. Heartland obviously is it, and then your network credentials. You're going to see the media channel, which is similar to the heartland.yuja.com. And so you're going to be able to choose it from a selection at the very bottom of the interface for channels, record, upload, and download. If you choose to record, it's going to prompt you because it's going to use your iPhone's camera. And it doesn't want anyone taking over that camera unless you give the green light by saying, okay. And then it's going to want to access the microphone for your iPhone or Android. And again, it requires that you say, okay, or it doesn't happen. Once that's done, you see that the recording will start and then the stop button is there. In the testing I did, there was never the opportunity to pause. So you record it, you stop it,
Okay.
And in this case, while I did not record much of anything, it did require that I title it, or it would give me a very generic My Mobile Upload Thursday, September 8th at 12:10 p.m. And then the opportunity right there to add a description. It will prompt you that the upload is in progress. And then as you see in the last interface, it's going to confirm that the test recording was uploaded.
Okay.
Very manageable process. The download is equally simple. But it opens up a lot of opportunity for students to go out and gather evidence in a first-person sense. And
nice.
Yeah. So we have covered recording through Canvas. We've covered recording through the web-based institutional interface with the single sign-on. We have covered editing. And I do want to point out, because some effort was made to isolate each of the individual editing processes. And so with that, I just want to show you what should be a very useful tutorial for you and others, because it identifies the edit and then it walks you through the individual steps for the edit.
Oh, okay.
And then the insert and so on.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So this is how the blur should have worked if it wasn't the entire interface. You can add a virtual background. So in this case, I selected a tropical forest while Anna is lecturing. And then as you see, through AI, it transposes the tropical forest behind her.
Nice.
And for effect, that could prove to be important in some videos. We've talked about the text overlay. You can stretch that out or make it very narrow. And telestration.
Do you have to know the color number?
You do, but I could send you what used to be considered the web safe colors by those alphanumeric 6 characters. At this point, you know, web safe means so much more than that, but it covers the basic 256 colors. I can send that to you.
Okay. Yeah, that might be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, just one of those other things that we didn't grow up on it, and so we didn't memorize it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's YuJa in a nutshell. In a future workshop, as I mentioned, we'll cover quizzing.
Okay.
And then there will be a course coming up for YuJa 101. And so you can earn a badge or a certificate by taking it. The information in that course will be very similar to this, though it could be a little more extensive. None of it is unimportant or irrelevant, obviously with YuJa being the tool of choice here on campus. And so it's just a matter of time. I can imagine the library is very busy, but in the event, libraries are just busy places. So
yes. But like I say, with that, I just kind of want to update those videos in my OER class for faculty. So this will be, I think I can figure this out. So
okay.
yeah,
And please
if I have any questions, you'll hear from me.
Okay. And please know the offer to help is genuine in terms of coming to your office or wherever, and just really covering the level at which the camera records, the lighting, the mic, making sure, the image is centered. And the two most important qualities are your comfort and your enthusiasm. If those two things are achieved, great things happen.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Well, hey, you've been great. We finished 9 minutes early. Did you have any other questions?
No, I think I just need to get in there and mess around a little bit, and then I'll have questions, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, hey, it's been great talking with you.
Yes, you too.
Reach out anytime.
All right. Thanks so much, Tim. I really appreciate it.
You bet.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay.